Hey guys, welcome back to Vince Custom. So today we're going to do a repair video on this Light Suit Samus Metroid figure. Now, it's a really great statue. I didn't realize it was this big. Basically, this is actually an LED item. So there is a piece right here at the bottom of her foot that connects into the base, probably where it connects power. And that probably runs up this leg over here through the torso, around this arm into here, into the gun. Now, as you can see, this gun is fairly heavy, you know. So you have this arm being held up by this little tiny part of resin with a hollow piece in there with wires. So this is just bound to break. I mean, really, this gun should have probably been PVC maybe. Or they should have put some really big like rod, at least here and here, to connect this piece. But they didn't. So I'm not really sure how this broke on the person, but my guess is, you know, you're cleaning it or you grab it the wrong way and you put a little bit of pressure onto this gun, snap, it breaks right off. And those wires are really, really small wires because it just needs to power an LED, and that's not going to hold it, so that snapped. So the person sent me the pictures. I said, look, I can repair the arm and we could probably bring it back to life, but there's no way I could redo the LEDs. I mean, if I have to Dremel into this arm here to connect these wires, to find something to secure this arm, it's just way too much work and it won't work. Because if I Dremel in here the wrong way and I chip a wire that's deep in here, I'll never be able to get that wire back in there. So it's kind of like a lost cause. They didn't really design this well enough where, you know, damages or support at all. So what we're going to do is we decided LED is scrapped on this item because it's just not going to work. I mean, the only other real way to do an LED on this right now, if you really wanted to, is basically gut out all the LEDs in here now, gut all this stuff out, and actually put an LED system in here where you can flick it on yourself, and here, in here with a little battery. That's probably the only way to really do an LED now if you really wanted to, but the client really doesn't care about the LED, which personally, me too, I don't care about LEDs on my statues. I'd rather have the sculpt and the paints, you know, and supports better than just trying to flick on an LED for an item. I mean, if it works in a base, I mean, that's okay if you want a base to light up, but in the figure, you know, running these wires through a body, it has to be at a point where it's engineered for support, and if there is sort of any kind of damages or something, you could get back in there and fix it. So, you know, personally, I would have loved to seen some kind of like really strong hollow rod, whether it's brass, zinc, or whatever, in there. So like, say if the wire broke, you can like tie another wire and like pull some strings and another wire through the system. But you know, these statues aren't made that way. They're just made to one off, make sure it works, put it in a box and sell it, and then done, and don't worry about the rest of it. So we're getting rid of the LEDs and we're going to repair it. So my goal with this is we're going to start just pretty much doing what I normally do. I'm going to go in the garage, I'm going to gut out all these LED items here. We're going to get all this stuff out of here. You know, we got all the other parts over here. And what we're going to do is, once we get all this gutted, I'm going to design a rod, like a really strong metal rod that goes here but bends upwards. So this way when I attach this, this will be gutted too, and I can put this in here with some magic sculpt, and then this way this piece is never coming back out again once it's done. It's going to be a little tricky, but I think once I gut all this stuff out of here, I can just start putting all these pieces together, fixing up these chips and stuff like that. Now as far as the gun paint wise, we're going to try to match it as best as we can, but we might do something a little bit different. You know, maybe I can like, you know, use some Spaztec colors and repaint this all with a nice metallic green and really change up. Because trying to repair all this little stuff, it's useless. Might as well just paint the whole gun again. So let me go in the garage. I'm going to gut this out. I'm going to start getting this prepared. What I will be using for most of the start of this is probably like magic sculpt. You know, getting in here, getting this piece attached, getting this stuff all set up again. I think what I'm going to be doing too is this piece, even though this piece sort of covers this, you know, I guess to go in there and fix the light if the light does burn out, we're going to probably attach this piece and be done with it. This is all going to be back to one solid piece, and it's going to be attached to the arm, and that's it, we're done. So I'm going to go gut this out, come back, and it's just a matter of me just doing my normal stuff. So I'll be using magic sculpt, A's, we'll kind of go back and forth some little stuff here and there as I repair, but more or less should be straightforward repair. So, I just got out of the garage, and it turns out, I didn't realize this, I wish I've known, this part was actually attached to the arm, and this is a connector. this actually is removable. I didn't realize that. I thought this was actually all one solid piece. But even so, this was a connector going into here. This wire was still broke, and to get all that fixed up and get this back on there would be a nightmare. So I'm going to change up how this is going to work. Since this is a removable piece now, this is actually going to be a little bit easier to do. What I'm going to do is, now I'm going to put this piece onto the arm with a metal rod. So one of my square metal rods, those key stocks, we'll get into that later. What I'll do is I'm going to bend it. I'm going to bend it. And so this way, the rod goes up the arm, and it comes through here and it sticks out here, and then what I'll do is I'll create a magnet system, so this way when you put this in, it magnetizes and it pops out. So that's going to be easier to paint this, it's going to be easier to repair this, and it'll be easier to actually work on the statue without trying to get this one solid piece in there and get all touched up in there. We'll just have a nice removable magnet system. So it won't be LED, but it will be removable. Now, like I said, if the client really wanted to do LED, and I knew how to do LEDs, and you know, you wanted to go that route, it would be a lot more work, because basically you would have to kind of gut this in here, gut this over in here now, and basically get this all repaired, make this removable, and then you could put an LED system in there where you have to lift this up, turn it on, and do this down. Now, I mean, I could go that route if I really wanted to, but this is all smashed up to try to get this all repaired, and it's just going to be, it's just a mess. So basically we'll make this just all removable piece. I think that'll be pretty easy. So for right now, what I'm going to do is we'll just get started on this. It's really simple. So we'll just take some of our BSI gel glue, get the gel stuff is absolutely amazing. As you can see, I'm putting it on and it doesn't run anywhere. It just stays in place. Now it still does dry fast, but you want to keep this away from your Instaset. So make sure we get the Instaset all ready. And basically we'll just get this piece glued up for now. Now the glue is probably going to squeeze out around the edge. That's not a big deal. Actually, we'd rather do that anyway. This is going to get sanded down and stuff. So make sure this is all kind of lined up. And that'll be nice like that. Now the only problem sometimes is holding this stuff. Now if you really want to wipe down the glue real quick, if you're fast enough, you can kind of wipe down the outside so it's not really too crazy. Now it's all over my fingers. And you just take your Instaset and you go around it like so. And that pretty much just sets it up real fast, and you can do the inside too, like that. So that is pretty much glued to where we want it to. Now what I'm going to do is, see, the glue went on my finger. I wiped it all over my finger. Some, you know, nail polish remover would take that off. Now if you have any of your Instaset on your hands, don't touch your bottle, don't put any fumes near your glue, because this fumes and any kind of residue on your fingers will start drying that up, and you don't want to do that. So I'm going to go get cleaned up out of my hands, get all this stuff off. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get some Magic Sculpt, and we're going to put some Magic Sculpt in here to make sure this piece kind of locks up pretty well, because the magnet system will be over in here. I don't have to worry. And then I have some freeform air from Smooth On. I'll probably use that to fill this in so it's lightweight stuff. It doesn't take up too much, it won't be too much weight. But we really want to secure this area over here with some Magic Sculpt. So let me get cleaned up, we'll come back, and then we'll fill that in. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue all these pieces together, because this stuff is all stuff that broke off of this here. So I'm going to get all this kind of glued in, so this way I can actually start, well, I'm going to take this fabric off as well. Try to get this fabric off, glue these pieces in. I got a little bit of extra Aves that I mixed up, so I'm going to kind of like patch up these areas here with Aves, and then to sand this stuff down, see if I could kind of repair some of this with some putty, and just kind of get this kind of set up, so this way I'll be able to sand it and get it primed up, and then we could start working out the, you know, whole magnet system onto this. So I had a chance to get in the garage and sand this down. As you can see, I just went around the area and just kind of did some wet sanding. I really cleaned up around this area here where I glued this back together because a lot of the glue bled out. Still a little spot over here I got to kind of clean up. Probably hit it with some, once I hit it with some primer, I'll know exactly how to clean this up. It's kind of hard to see it without, but I went around the area in here, and this is locked in pretty well now, so it's all pretty much set up. The reason why it looks like all the paint's almost taken off is because I needed to get all that gloss coat pretty much off of the item because it would be hard to paint on it. It probably won't stick. So I'll hit it with adhesion promoter when I'm ready to prime it up though. But for right now, I'm just kind of going through it and making sure everything's looking good. But we're at the point now where this is almost where I got to start planning it out. This top part over here, I got to clean up this area in here to get this as clean as I possibly can. It's not lining up only because I got to kind of take some of this glue that I glued this piece over here out. But once that's pretty much on there, we'll be set. So right now what I'm trying to figure out is which steel rod I need. Now these are called key stock. For those that might not know, it's a square steel rod. You can get them at like hardware stores in long, like 12-inch pieces. Sometimes they're in 3-foot. It all depends on where you can find it. When I say key stock, this is actually the metal rods that are in your door handles to your house. Basically, you know, you have the one handle here, the other handle here, it goes through the door, and this helps turn it because it's square, so it's called key stock. You can get this in zinc and you can get it in steel. These are my steel ones because these are magnetized. Zinc doesn't magnetize. So what I need to figure out now is which metal rod I'm going to put up the arm and then go through here. So this one's the thinner one. This is, let's see, 1/8 by 12-inch, so this is a 12-inch piece here and stuff. So this one's a little bit thinner. It'll definitely hold up this item. I mean, I'm not saying that this thin one won't hold it up, but I would rather use the thicker one only because I have a lot more parts for it. We'll kind of go over that later. So if this thicker piece, and I forget the size of this one, if this one goes into the arm of the statue with no problem, then I'll use this one. If I feel that this one's too big for that, like, you know, small opening, then I'll go with the thinner one. I have to kind of figure that out yet. So whichever one I figure out, I have to go in the garage and I have to bend this. So what's going to happen is this is the piece that goes into the gun, and then what's going to happen is this is going to have a metal rod sticking out of it to be magnetized, and then this is going to have to be bent up to the arm. So this is going to be a little bit tricky where I have to Dremel this out enough where I can actually get a rod in here and sort of bend it upwards, and it'll go through like that. So this will be bent into the arm and attached, and then this will be the part where this gun is there's a magnet in here, and then this clicks in here and holds in place. So that's kind of what I got to come up with. So I got to go and figure that out, and then once I figure it out, I also got to be very careful because there's two things that I got to be careful of. One, when I Dremel out the arm in the statue, the problem is there's going to be wires in there. So if this person puts, you know, if they put this into the statue and this metal rod is touching those wires and they accidentally click on it, like if they plug it in and turn on the battery, that electrical charge will go into the steel and you can actually get like some kind of a shock or something. So I'm going to have to make sure whatever I Dremel out there and I put this in, this metal rod isn't touching those wires. And I'm going to also have to tell the person that you should probably make sure you cut the wire off the statue or fill in the batteries or rip out the battery thing, because I'm not really sure how it connects, just to be on the safe side. So that's just something I'm going to have to mention to them, and just to be careful. But once I get this rod in this arm and then into the statue and stuff, then I can really work out the mechanism in here. And then after that, it's just a matter of cleaning it up and painting it. Had a chance to get in the garage and I bent the rod. So I'm going with the thicker one on this. It should work out pretty well. So my next step is what I have to do off camera, though I have to really be careful, is I have to take the statue itself, go in the garage and Dremel out that arm. So I'm going to have to put up, like, you know, some towels on the workbench, make sure he's all kind of cleaned up because I don't want to break anything or scratch the statue. So we're going to have to go with that. But you can see this works out pretty well. Just goes right in there like that, and we're bent up there. So what I have to do is get that Dremeled out in the arm, and then I have to kind of put this into the arm and make sure this lines up correctly where I want it to go and everything. And then what I'll have to do is sort of get like magic sculpt into here. I have to kind of lock this piece into place in the arm, just sort of like get it there. And then once this is locked in, I can probably cut what I need to cut here just because I know I want it to go into a certain length. I want it to kind of like go into a part in that statue where it kind of locks in. I really want to hold this up, so if I think about it, I might even go a little bit further in to over there. I'm not really sure yet. I really want to make sure it's kind of locked. And then after that's done, I can take this piece and push it into the arm and set this up, clean this up, and then basically we'll have a locking piece like that in the arm, so it'll hold on pretty well. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. So meanwhile, while I'm trying to figure that out and get that stuff, I'll try and clean this up. This is a little bit tricky because this is like clear resin. I don't know why it's clear resin, maybe because it's supposed to have light shine through or something, I'm not really sure. But I gotta be a little bit careful with this stuff because it could shatter on you if you're not careful. So this is gonna be like something I kind of clean up on the side. And this is gonna be like put aside too as well until I get this all set up. So this was a little bit tricky. I had him on the towel, I had the vacuum shop vac there, and pretty much just making sure I can actually get a deep hole into here in this arm without destroying any of this rest of the statue, and also making sure I lined it up correctly. So what I did is I put some notches on here, so you can kind of see I just did a couple notches. One, it helps grab it, plus two, I know which side goes where. So I could have cut this, and I did, you know, sand this down a little bit. I got to hit a little bit more on this edge here. So this goes into the arm pretty well now. And then when we put this rod up there into that arm, it works out perfect where I got wiggle room, as you can see. So now I can actually throw some glue in here or something just for now, just to kind of line up this, like go centered. Because you don't want it to go downwards and you don't want it to go upwards. We want it to be exactly perfectly centered in here. So this way, when this piece slides into here, as you can see, we'll have a metal rod in there like that. So I'm going to have to get this lined up. If I feel I need to cut this down and stuff, I'll do it. But I'm looking at this now, and there's enough meat to hold this up with this piece of resin and the metal rod that I don't need to go all the way down into here. If this was really, really heavy, like if I thought this was way too heavy, I would go further, but it doesn't. So even if I keep the rod like this, that's fine. I can actually Dremel out a lot of stuff in here, which I might have to do. We'll see what happens. But for right now, we're going to get set up, and I'm going to try to see how I'm going to line this up. I'm thinking just some glue. Because what I'm going to make sure is wherever I line it up, this piece slides out pretty well. I don't want it to be like at an angle, and then when I try to slide it out, it gets locked. I need to make sure this is all lined up. So I think maybe a little bit of glue would kind of help me, you know, center it. And then after that, I can actually pack this in with some Magic Sculpt or Aves or whatever, just to get this piece locked in. I just want to get this piece locked for now, just for today. Get this locked up. And then what I can do is start working out the key in there with the magnet, and then I can actually put this on when I'm ready. So this is kind of a good break in a point where, I mean, of course no break is good, but it's good that I'm able to slide this in like that, you know, just able to go in and works out. So this good L rod is going to work out wonders. Now, the other thing too is I Dremeled up pretty far into this arm as much as I could, so the Dremel in this arm probably goes a little bit further, so this way when I pack in some, you know, Magic Sculpt in there, hopefully we're not hitting any of the wires. At least I don't think I am. I've been trying to look to make sure, and it looks like I got most of the wire out of there, but you never know. I mean, it's possible this metal rod could still hit it, so it's just, it is what it is at this point. So, let me try to figure out what I'm going to do with this. We'll come back, we'll try to glue it in, and then go from there. Alright, I'm set on glue for now. So this is called, you know, Instaset, and this is BSI gel glue. This gel glue is amazing. I suggest that if you guys are into statues, and if you're one of these people where if something breaks, you don't mind just gluing it yourself and being happy with it, get the gel glue. This stuff is absolutely amazing. It pretty much is a gel. It doesn't run. It dries really fast, and with the Instaset, it dries in a second. So it's really good stuff. So as you can see here, you see how this rod sort of kind of like, you know, swings like this? So if I put the gel glue in there and I push the rod through, what's going to happen is all that glue is going to get stuck on here. I'll have to sand all this off, so this way when I create the mechanism, this is all caked up, so we don't want to do that. So I'm going to put some gel glue here and then sort of push this back a little bit. And if there is a little bit of glue on here, that's fine. I can kind of sort of take it off, but we don't want to put glue in here and then just squeeze it all out through there and then it's just not sticking. I just want enough glue in there so this kind of just locks into a place and we go from there. So basically we're just going to put this on like that, And what I'll do is, you see how I pull this forward and then it sort of falls down? So I'm going to pull this forward, squeeze some glue in there, make sure this is kind of lined up where I need it to be. So I got to kind of position this in a point where it's going to line up and then squeeze it in. So it's going to be a little tricky. Sometimes if you're not careful, like if I feel that I'm going to mess this up, I don't want to get glue all over the statue. So we want to make sure the arm is locked into place, and then we can do that. So we're going to try and do this best I can. So lift this up a bit. It's one of the bad things about working on repairs. If you're by yourself, you don't have anyone else to hold up your a piece for you. So we're just going to squeeze some glue down in there. Just enough. It's fine. It's not going to go bad or anything like that. Make sure this arm piece is lined up there, and push this down a little bit. So I think it's going to be lined up like that. Should be lined up like that. So we're going to hit some Insta-Set on this hand. You don't have to worry about the Insta-Set. It shouldn't really ruin your paints. So we're going to put a drop of Insta-Set there real quick. Sort of locking in place. Maybe just a little bit more. Looking pretty centered. Maybe just up a little bit more. And I think we're looking pretty good. So it kind of locks in there. So we're kind of locked in, centered, and looking pretty good. So let me just put that down real quick. Make sure my Insta-Set is nowhere near my gel glue, otherwise some of the fumes of it will set everything up on you in that tube, and then you lost a $5 tube of glue. So be careful. Even residue on your fingers can actually set up that glue on you by accident. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play it safe. I'm going to let this sort of dry a little bit more. Still a little loose here, so you know what? I'm going to be on the safe side. Hit this area over here with some glue. Should be fine. Put this arm back in here, like so. And make sure we're still lining up correctly. So the rod goes in there pretty well. Everything's looking good. So what we'll do is we'll grab some of this Insta-Set again real quick. Put some drops over there on that part. See, if you're not careful and it's not lining up. So we're lining up pretty good. The rod goes in. And we're looking pretty good. Alright, so basically we have enough hole over in there to squeeze in some Magic Sculpt or A's. We have a lot of holes under here to squeeze in. It's going to be tedious, of course. It's not, you know, I mean, that's just the way it is, but we really want to make sure this is locked in there. So a little bit of glue there, a little bit of glue there, we locked it into place. So we're pretty good. So it lines up really well. So always double check, make sure. That's a good thing about the BSI glue. If you don't put a lot on it and you're making sure it's lined up, you can always kind of crack it and Dremel it out real quick again. So we're looking good. Alright. So next step is I'm going to get him away now. I don't need to mess with him again for a while. Wash my hands, get cleaned up, and then what I'll do is I'll mix up some Magic Sculpt. I'll pack it in here, get it all nice and packed in there as best as I can. We'll let that set up for today. And then tomorrow, I can start planning out the rest of this. Going to set up the magnet now. So this is the next day. This piece is all cured up pretty well. So this is a hollow brass rod, a square, If you get it from K&S, if you get the correct size, it goes over the steel piece perfectly. So what I do is I cut off a piece and I sand it down so you get a little bit of the steel kind of sticking out. And this is a really nice strong magnet I got. So you can see that. So we're going to create a magnet system. And the way this works is you get your rod, which comes in a, 12-inch piece. You cut it down. Just be careful you don't want to crush it. I usually put it in a vice grip, but I don't crush it. Get this piece on there. Make sure everything is nice and smooth so it kind of like slides. And you put your magnet over here like that. And next step is you take your Magic Sculpt, A's, whatever you got, and this kind of really helps like lock things in place. So you just put this around here like this. Doesn't have to be super pretty. You just need to make sure it locks it in place. Make sure you're not getting A's stuck between the steel and the magnet. And you just put this around like this any way you want. I mean, if it's going to be really big like this, which I have no choice in the matter, because I really want this magnet to stick, all this in here is going to be have to Dremeled out. So what's going to happen is by either later today or tomorrow, this is going to cure up and this is going to be locked in place. So what I'll do is I'll have a magnet system where basically there's the rod and like where my hand is right here, that's the magnet. So you put that piece in there and then you slide this in there and you get a magnet. So this is what we're doing for now. So I'm going to let this dry up for today. Go on to other stuff. But what I'm going to do now is I'll probably go in the garage now and I'll Dremel out in here because the rod's going to go in further and you got the magnet now. So it won't go between this. So I'm going to Dremel all this out and get this all set up. What I might do is kind of leave it, let's see how this piece works. Got a plan, you don't want to go overboard. So yeah, see the way this piece goes on there, like that? So if I Dremel out this piece here and this piece here, then I lose all this decal. So I got to Dremel out in this section. It's okay though, because once this piece is set up, we can use some glue and some Magic Sculpt and A's and sort of set it up and get the system going. We'll go over that later, but I'm going to Dremel out underneath here. So we got a lot of meat under there. So it's not a problem, just enough. I probably have to kind of tweak it after this cures up to make sure it fits. But for now, I can at least get in the garage and Dremel that out. And next step is I'm going to go in the garage and sort of sand this down a little bit, kind of tweak this a bit, and try to clean up this area as much as I possibly can. So we're about at that 8-hour mark. It's the end of the day. I'm pretty much getting ready to clean up. So I figured what I'll do is I'll mix up a little bit Aves and get this locked in tonight into here. And this way tomorrow I can actually just start filling it up. So as you can see, we have a locking mechanism now. So that locks into place really well. It's really tight to pull it out and we're looking good. So now we got to get this part in here. So what I did is I Dremeled out in here. I Dremeled out as much as I possibly could. So you can't just take this and put this in there and glue it because you got that hole. It's not going to work. So basically I mark here, I mark here. Take this piece. Get that in there. Make sure you line it up where it's supposed to go. And basically that's where it's going to sit inside. Now there's two ways of doing this. One, if there wasn't this huge gap over here and it was kind of like just a little bit over there, I would actually mix up this 2-part BSI epoxy, A and B together in equal amounts. You mix it up, you pour it in, and literally in 5 minutes it starts working. But the only problem with this stuff is if you're not paying attention and you put too much in and you have it pool in this direction because it's kind of like, liquid, it will bond to this part over here, and then trying to pop it out, it's a little bit difficult. The other problem I have with it sometimes too is if you don't put enough down in there and you try to pull this out, it sort of kind of wiggles it. It might not bond to this resin or anything too well. It's good for certain projects, but for this one, it just being like the way this is kind of like a boat, like a cup inside, I'm not really liking it. So all I'm going to really do is I'm going to just kind of pull this out a little bit, like so. Just kind of just pull it out there. Just mix up some red in my Aves, just kind of mix up some Aves, throw it in there. Push this back in, and then what I'll do is I'll use some masking tape and pull this around, and then what I'll do is I'll put a little extra A's around there just to get this locked into place for tonight. Then tomorrow, once that's pretty much set up, I can actually pop this out, put a little baby powder on this piece, fill this in with a little bit more Aves over there. Really make sure this is locked in with Aves. And then all this open area over here, I can either leave, I'll probably fill it in with some freeform air from Smooth On, just to make sure it's not too heavy, and it does lock a lot of this in place as well, but we'll get to that later. So for right now, I'm just going to make up some Aves. I'm going to get this locked into place, do this, and then I can just not worry about it for the rest of the day. Next day, and everything works out pretty well. Took off the tape, comes out no problem, as you can see. You can see how it looks in there. What I'm going to do is I got to work on another project. So I'm going to mix up some Aves, and I got to work on this other project. So what I'll do is I'll put a bunch of Aves over here just to lock this part in here. I'll put some baby powder around here. And then what I'll do is I'll make sure that that goes in. But you can see just by, I mean, it really locks in there pretty well. Just by putting it like here, I'm not really even pushing it, and then it just clicks in. And I'm holding it upside down right now, and it's not coming out, it's staying in pretty well. So once this is locked into the arm, the only issue that you'll have is this is going to be on the arm, and then you got to try to line it up and get that into that little spot. But if you get used to it and you line it up correctly, it'll go in. So that's pretty much where we're at. So I'm going to get some Aves mixed up. I'm going to get this lined up. I'll put some baby powder in there, make sure that this is removable and doesn't lock into place. And then once that's pretty much locked up and cured, I could come back to this, fill this in with some of that freeform air, get the top piece set up. I want to get all this cleaned up and ready for paint first. Once this is all done and ready, then I'm going to attach this onto the arm, onto the statue, get this locked up on that, and then after that it's just a matter of painting this up. Okay, so this arm is almost done. What I'm doing right now is I masked this off. I did a metallic gray on there. I'm letting this dry, and I'm going to do the elbow white piece to sort of match this. And then after I do that, I take off that little masking, kind of remask this, and hit it with some, gloss coat again. Because I'll probably have to kind of touch up the white in there anyway. So we'll go through that. Next step is I'm going to get some Aves, and I'm going to put some Aves around here and stuff, and then I'm gonna like attach this on. I really don't need to fill all this in. There's really no sense. There's no need. Adding any more weight probably just is a bad idea anyway. So I just want to add some Aves around this edge, let this dry up for the day, and then tomorrow I can start painting this. Talk to the client. We did a little bit of brainstorming. He doesn't really, not a fan of the idea of spastic colors where you spray this with a metallic paint and then you do the clear candy green on top. That's too metallic-y green. He wants to kind of keep it a lighter green. So I showed him some pearlized paints from Createx, and he likes that idea a little bit better. So what I'm going to do is once this is attached tomorrow, or even later tonight if everything goes well, I can actually spray this down in a basic green pearlized paint from Createx. Just get my base coat down, and then what I could do is I could kind of mix a little bit of a lighter green pearlized color and do some misting over it. But maybe I could do a little bit of shadowing with some darker colors here, and just go around, see if I could kind of play with it a little bit, add a little bit more detail. And then what I'll do is I'll show the client. If he likes it, we're good to go. If he wants me to add these yellow stripes or do something a little bit different than what was here before, we can. Because the way it was painted, this was one green, and then this kind of was like an off green or like a aqua green, and then it was attached there. So I don't know if that was on purpose, or if maybe that when they did it in the factory, they painted all the guns one color, and then when they had to mix up another batch of paint, they painted this different. I'm not sure. I have no clue. But I just want to get this attached only because it'll seam up these areas a little bit better, around these edges, and it'll attach it and look better, and go from there. And that's pretty much it for that. So we'll see how this works out by tomorrow. Hopefully we can finish this up. Okay, I'm pretty much done. What I did in here is I did some washes of pearlized yellow, a little bit of orange to give it glow there. I kind of did the inside a little bit up in there. Did a little bit of detailing around the piece, which is some like green paint, maybe a little bit of black in some areas. And then I gave a nice good car coat from Duplicolor. So it's nice and shiny, and it works out pretty well. So everything is pretty much finished up. This has got to like really cure up for the night, but I can pretty much show you guys what's going on. So Samus's arm is all repaired, as you can see. I pretty much just kind of got that in there, and I did it, you know, fixed it all up. There was one little spot I had to kind of retouch, so I retouched it and then fixed it up there. So the way this works is I'll give you guys an idea on how it works. If you just kind of keep an eye on where that is and you look at this angle, you can pretty much just line it up and it goes in no problem. So Samus has her gun back, and it is pretty much all set up. It's on there pretty tight. Just like I said, I don't have a base, so I'm kind of just showing you guys how everything looks. So just want to give you guys an idea that you can bring your statues back to life. It won't be, you know, maybe not original factory, but it still can work. So that is pretty much Samus all repaired. So let me know what you guys think. Hopefully it gives you guys some ideas too if you ever have a statue out there you want to repair and redo. Hopefully you liked it. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back with some more videos.